And Downset was the opener, and they broke the stage, so they invited me up to freestyle while the drummer played beats, while they kind of patched the stage.
Today, I know we say this every week, but today we have a very, very special guest with us. Somebody I think we've both been waiting a long time to have on the show to kind of chat through a number of different things, including, kind of the DJ aspect of nu metal and kind of how that played into everything. So very excited today to have Surreal the MC with us. How you doing?
Awesome. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Heck yeah,
Totally,
dude.
man. Glad you could come and chat with us for a little bit and kind of relive some old memories maybe and kind of talk through some of the DJ stuff.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. So for our listeners, we bring this up quite a bit. Obviously Dan and I were in Downshift, and Surreal here, he's been in the Omaha music scene for a long time. Like I knew you from Noise Wave, obviously. Yeah. Were you in anything before Noise Wave, or was that?
Oh yeah. First?
Yeah.
I was in a couple punk bands in the Cog Factory days. One of them, Rugrats, Radicals Underground Rebelling Against the System is what the acronym stood for.
Nice,
dude. Cog Factory way back in the day, and some house parties.
Nice.
And then in the early 90s, I sold mixtapes, like cassette mixtapes around town. So
doesn't surprise me.
Back to the hieroglyphics.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Classic.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, that question alone, I was thinking about, because I'll run into people. I actually live across the street from the waiting room around like the Reverb and waiting room in Sydney and the music scene here in Benson. And I just run into people all the time, and they'll bring up Walmart, because I worked at, or Walmart being Ranchville being a Walmart.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, those are the good old days. I'm like, what are you talking about? We're still living the good old days.
That's right.
The music scene's still thriving. So as much as I miss the Ranchville, I worked there from 01 to 04. Like, that was just a small part of it, because then it was Hideout, Lookout, like this, before that. To me, that was just the first time ever. Ice-T was the first show. Speaking of nu metal, Ice-T Body Count was the first show I ever saw at Ranchville. But the Ranchville was there for years, but it's still just a small portion of the scene in the story, I feel.
Right. That's a good way of putting it, man. And it's cool that you look at it in that perspective, because so many people, obviously, they're going to come up to you and say, oh, I remember the good old days. It's always that, that thought of, oh man, I wish we knew we were living in the good old days when we're actually doing it, kind of a thing. But you don't usually know it until it's over, but it's cool that you're looking at it like, dude, we still are, it's like, it's how you put your spin on it,
Yeah, I just, because I ran into Scott Armstrong a couple days ago, and Doug, drummer Doug, who's in like 35 bands, Deckard, obviously there's a lot of new schoolers, not all old schoolers, or however you want to say it, middle schoolers, that's not right. But like the guys whose bands, even, Mike from 3QE, who you guys, I love running into those guys and talking stories, but it's like compounded since then, because like Mike's daughter sings, and Scott's daughter's in a band, Doug's son's in a band, a Yellow Card cover band and a ska band. It's like, that's kind of crazy to think about, like how it's kind of trickled down.
Yeah, sure. It's the generational thing, passing the torch,
new generations,
and letting the young ones run with it nowadays.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And, I want to say something too. I think, we've known each other for going on 30 years. I think, we've been playing shows and, being friends and whatnot. And if there's one thing I could say, kind of going back to what you just said about kind of, we're still living in the good old days. If there's one person that I can count on for positivity, it's you. There's always a positive mindset, a positive outlook,
Thank you.
And so I certainly appreciate that, because, you're right. I think, in a manner of speaking, we are still living them in whatever fashion we're doing that. Can it be different? Sure.
Exactly. I mean, you guys found a lane podcast. Like, the formats have changed. You know, I remember when the whole like the Napster LimeWire thing was the
Oh
big
yeah.
Metallica was, and then it was you know, MySpace was a thing for a while, and then, you know, then Facebook and IG, and the platform changes. We don't go once, we don't get the Sunday newspaper to get the Best Buy ad to go see what new release CD and DVDs are out of Best Buy anymore. We
Sure.
just buy like washing machines from Best Buy now,
Right.
but like the lanes and the formats have changed, but that passion, if it evolves with the technology, it works. I feel like the new scare now is kind of AI, and there's all these articles. Probably it's good to be aware of how much water and energy AI wastes. Like that's obvious, but there's exciting change. You know, once we get it down to where we can recycle with AI and not waste the oceans and stuff, maybe there'll be some good. Hopefully, there'll be some good to come out of the next wave of technology.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, because right now it's just pure on consumerism and you know, it almost, especially with this AI race, it just seems like people just don't even care what the outcome is going to be as long as if it's going in their bank account.
No,
you know?
yeah, it does kind of seem like that, and it, even as like a consumer or whatever, a viewer, a streamer, or whatever, the you know, I'm like, oh, that shark fighting the turtle isn't real, but that was funny. But then I'm like, oh man, that's like 50 buckets of water I could have drank.
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't that funny.
That's right.
Oh. You know, I saw one today. Did either of you guys watch the Jake Paul fight on Friday?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I I made it a point to watch it just because, like, I'll be honest with you, like, I can't stand him. So I was just hoping that literally he'd get his jaw broken. And that's exactly what happened. So I feel like I got my money's worth.
There you go.
But there was a video I saw today. That's terrible to say on a podcast, but you know, anyways, I saw an AI video of him today.
The Welt one?
Yeah. And apparently it was AI.
And
I was like, no way. I totally bought it. Like, it was spooky how real it was. I would have never known.
Yeah.
You know, it's just getting out of control. And
what
you know,
was the video? I saw a whole bunch of pictures, like people like, you know, photoshopping or AIing pictures or whatever, but there's a video.
He did like a real.
Really?
Well, somebody did it. I don't know who did it, to be honest with you. But yeah, his like, it's just swollen like a weld. I mean, because he did get it wired shut, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
yeah, because he broke it in 2 places. But yeah, there's like this huge purple welt, and apparently it was AI. And it's like, well, you got me on that one. Usually you can tell because there's like 6 fingers or something, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, they fixed that glitch.
That's funny.
So, anyways,
I tell you what, I get my jaw broken for $88 million.
Well, is that how much he made?
That's how much he made. Yep.
$88 million.
$88 million. Yep.
Take a punch from that guy. Wow.
Do it.
Dang. Anyway, sorry to sidetrack, but yeah, I just saw that and I was like, oh my God, that was brutal.
That's right.
But anyways, yeah. So,
but anyways, so Surreal, your background obviously is lots of everything. I mean, punk, hip hop, metal, you name it. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen you not doing something music related and hustling in some sort of way, you know, which is awesome. I mean, you're hugely known in the tri-state area and even further beyond, obviously, and stuff. But the biggest thing is that, again, with your background and everything, that's why I thought it was a great addition to have you on our show, because obviously we're very new metal-esque in this podcasts and stuff. And so, you know, one thing that we don't talk a lot about is the DJs. And so since you have such a background in hip hop and new metal and everything, what better person to bring on to talk about it?
Thank you.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts? Obviously, you know, Downshift had a DJ, you know, lots of other bands in the area did. And then obviously nationally and globally, there's lots of different DJs. And now it's even making a comeback. I mean, it's even in, I'm seeing some hardcore bands that are incorporating DJs and things and stuff. And they're trying to bring it back. And I think that's super rad. So just want to get your thoughts. Like, what do you think of, you know, like basically it stemmed from somewhere. And I don't know, just what are your thoughts on it?
Well, a lot of thoughts. I obviously like Rick Rubin and Run DMC with the Aerosmith collaboration gave it a push, and Beastie Boys, you know, they were the Cookie Puss, the punk rock Pollywog Stew EP, and then Cookie Puss was their first like hip hop record. But then like they had Kerry King play on No Sleep Till Brooklyn and on the License to Ill, and like Anthrax, Public Enemy, Bring the Noise. There's in Biohazard Onyx, those collaborations back in the 80s and 90s, Judgment Night soundtrack, all that stuff helped push and elevate it. And I think, I mean, even the roots of that are even before that, with sampling like the core DJs, like, you know, Kool Herc and the original hip hop DJs sampling funk and disco and R&B, but then taking breaks off of rock and metal albums in the early MCs rapping over that. And then it went through the phase where commercially, like Korn didn't have a DJ, but they had the Adidas, like the style, the Adidas jumpsuits. In field, they hit the bass lines, the rhythms, the samples, the textures sonically were hip hop, influenced by hip hop. And then Deftones, even I think Frank joined, like, was it before White Pony? No, it was right before the second album, I think. But they didn't have a DJ, and I know he does more synth work now, but he had turntables originally too. There was that phase though with like what nu metal's known for, with like Sid and DJ Lethal and you know, Limp Bizkit and Slipknot and all the bands that get mentioned on the podcast here. And then now it's coming to answer your question. I think there are like that slam band Peeling Flesh.
Yeah.
They don't actually have a DJ, but in the studio they do trap. Trap being like 666 Mafia, like
Yeah.
new rap samples. They do the like Suicide Boys, Peeling Flesh. There's that City Morgue, that group. These groups don't necessarily have DJs on stage live. Some of it is triggered by like the drummer and stuff,
Sure.
but they still have that culture of running samples and having like electronic sounds and music integrated with the metal. Falling Reverse is another good example of that.
Yeah.
They did that song with Tech Nine. I even think like bands you wouldn't really think about it until you strip the layers down, like Whitechapel. Like some of the drums in the bass is hip hop influence, even though they don't, like fashion wise, it's not like how Korn is. Like Whitechapel, like, you know, death metal fashion wise kind of, but the sounds when you see them live, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Bands that's
like, wild to think about.
Dead. I mean, their influence is obvious, you know.
Sure. Yeah, there's you brought up Slam. There's a a band that I just got turned on to just recently. I think they've been around for a little bit. I think 2018 is when they started or whatever. They're a band called Resistor.
Yeah.
And gosh dang, they freaking slap, dude. They have a live DJ on stage and stuff, and they are just freaking heavy, man. And just like, again, very hardcore-esque and stuff, but then just putting in that just that hip hop undertone with it and stuff. I mean, it's obviously been done before, but it feels really fresh still. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, it does. Exactly. And then you go back, and there was bands that were out in the era we were just talking about. Like, I'll think of one track specifically, Sepultura, Straight Hate off Roots.
Yes.
Very hip hop, like straight. Then the vocals are nu metal influenced, but the rhythms, and obviously they have the Latin percussion in a lot of the songs on that album and stuff. But I mean, that Straight Hate is like, it just blows your subs out. It's just a be hip hop song, really.
Yeah.
Max, those guys are geniuses, dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's wild to kind of think back to some of those and kind of, you know, peel that onion back a little bit and kind of figure out what those influences were, you know, because as a guitar player, you know, it's like I don't necessarily think about it that way. You know, I'm like focused on the guitar riff, you know,
well, that makes sense.
Yeah. And, you know, thinking to, you know, how some of those early nu metal bands, how it works so well, is it because, you know, kind of that rhythm section was very hip hop influenced, and then you bring in kind of the metal guitar on top of it, and then obviously the vocal influence. But you know, it kind of, I guess I never did the math on it like that, but yeah, it makes perfect sense. And kind of going back to the DJ thing, you know, that's very, how should I say this? It's when it works very, very well with the guitar, you know, then it's seamless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some bands can do it really, really well, and others can't. you know, and it's more of a standalone thing, which is fine too. If it works in the song, it works. But when, like recently, Jeff and I, we discovered a band called Folder. Have you ever heard of Folder?
No, but I'm gonna look them up.
They're an Italian new metal band from the early 2000s, and it's a great example of that guitar player and the DJ working like seamlessly together because it works so well. You know, like the turntables act almost as like a guitar solo, you know, and maybe that's
Yeah.
just because I'm wired that way. That's how I'm
That
kind of,
makes
you know,
sense.
making
So
sense of it. But
Lethal on some of the early Limp Bizkit, Lethal would run his turntables through guitar effect pedals like
Yeah.
Thrashmaster and Phase Master. Remember all those back in the day?
oh yeah,
Like the big pink ones. Like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he would actually get tones that matched the guitar. And then some bands, like I think some bands kind of overdid it. Like we have to have a scratch and we have to have in the bridge the singer rapping and
Right.
it kind of felt forced. And then some bands like Incubus, it never feels forced. And that
Right.
you know, they're not. You might put them more alternative maybe, but they like in you know, they've had a couple DJs, Chris, and then is it Life? But they always know when to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that just comes down to, especially back then, it was such a new thing that I think the bands that did it and it was intentional within their music, it made a lot of sense because they were a part of the writing process. And I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of bands who are just trying to get on that hype of, oh, we're a new metal band too, so we need a DJ, and they'd bring somebody on that really didn't necessarily know what they were doing. They didn't know how to write with it, you know, and they're just kind of putting it over the top of it and like, oh, we got some scratching in here and there, you know. So I think the intentionality is the big differentiator.
That's a good point. I actually toured as a DJ for a year with Emphatic. We were signed to Atlantic Records, and we opened for like Puddle of Mud and 10 Years and a bunch of bands. And that's a good example. I feel like we kind of had a good balance where Justin would be like, you know, this one's more like hyped up and this one's more laid back. So Pat's gonna do more singing and we don't need all the noises in the background. I use the word noise as a compliment, not as a yes, but and then eventually they turned it Through Fire, so that project took a different direction. But I always felt like what you just said is 100% true, but it's not always thought that way. So some of it sounds, in like the early 2000s, some of those bands sound like they were mimicking other bands.
Yes.
Yeah. And then some of the bands, some of the stuff fell together by accident, like the Snot tribute.
Yeah,
that album's amazing.
Yes, it is.
You know, I talk where it has everybody on different under tragic circumstances. It was
right.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's a timeless album, I think.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, and that's something that we talked about too. I think it was actually even we just did the Snot episode, and I think we were talking about like say Fred, for example. You know, when he was featured, obviously on that album, I felt like he was the ringer on that one. I thought he was the best vocalist on that one. That's just my opinion. But then also with like Soulfly, when he was on Soulfly's album, he did Bleed.
Yeah, because Shino and Grady from Willhaven were on the second one. Yeah, the second album. Yeah,
correct. Yeah, but that when he did Bleed on Soulfly, it was just like, but again, they went such like, you know, it's just a pretty metal song, you know, and all of a sudden it like, it's almost like the curtain peeled back and here comes Fred with this hip hop. And it was just like, oh my gosh, just that.
Yeah, it is like that.
Yeah.
You know, it was so freaking
it fit rad. The song too.
Yeah, it totally fit the song. It was like, oh my gosh, such a punch, you know, and gosh, it was so cool. But again, it just shows like how cool metal and hip hop can, you know, interweave together so well. And it's just, I love it. I am so glad, man, that freaking new metal is making a huge comeback and just people are just willing to take chances again and do stuff, you know, like with slam and all this other styles, you know, that are introducing it. I just think it's so freaking fun that we're melding things together again, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm a fan of metalcore, don't get me wrong, but metalcore has been pretty like the hot thing since probably say 2007 till
It has been a
2
while.
years
Yeah.
ago. Yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
long time. It's
Yeah.
okay. We need some experimenting again. It's just, it feels like we're
Yeah.
just getting Crest toothpaste every single time now. You know, it's getting old.
And I can only
Get off
handle
my
so many
lawn.
iterations. Yeah. 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 And I can only handle so many iterations of As I Lay Dying, you know, before it's like, maybe let's
Yep.
try something different.
Right.
I'm going to plead the
You
fifth
know.
because I still DJ a lot of emo nights for the younger crowd. So
Yeah.
I'm just over here chilling on
Hey
that
man, just paying the bills.
There was a lot of bands too that didn't get the commercial success that kind of kept things alive. Like Rough House had the Goats. Do you remember them? They were kind of like if Rage Against the Machine and Cypress Hill kind of like were like had a baby, I guess that makes sense.
Sure.
Even Cypress Hill, they were like kind of like Muggs produced that, like they were from LA, but they had that East Coast hip hop sound, and then they experiment and they toured with the full band, which is actually Sendog's SX10 side project. And then so for that fifth album with Rock Superstar, they had a full band, and I just saw them about a year ago over at Stir, and now they tour with Bobo, the Beastie Boys' old percussionist, and DJ Lord, Public Enemy's DJ, who is one of the best new metal DJs, I think, other than maybe Lethal out there, but we'll get to that. But Cypress, they have some instrumentation and then do some of it electronic, and I think they found a perfect spot for where they're at as an older touring band. But there's bands like even like Gravel Bone, remember them?
Oh gosh, yeah, dude.
Really,
from Chicago,
from Gary, Indiana. There was bands like
Gary,
that,
Indiana, sorry.
Downset. Anger. There was those bands that just were like true to what they were doing, and they didn't get the commercial success. They didn't get the Hot Topic t-shirt spot, but they were important nonetheless in the culture.
Hey man, dude, I completely forgot about Gravel, and I had to write that down. I forgot about them, man. They were freaking so good.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
see,
think
that's the thing. That's been my favorite part about starting this podcast, dude. Just a quick.
Yeah, just remember. Yeah.
Just like I mean, Dan, how many times have I come to you through the years? Like, do you remember this one band? I don't remember their name. They would do this, they do this, they have something, and then we go back and forth for like 3 or 4 days trying to figure out what the hell I'm talking about, and all of a sudden it freaking strike me, you know. And,
okay, what was the band that I think they toured maybe with Primer 55 or Cottonmouth Kings for a little bit, maybe Funk Junkies, but was it Dog Eat Dog?
I think so.
Does that ring a bell? I googled it.
I think they came with.
I googled it right when I sat down, and the only thing that came up was that was the Warrant album. But there was a band called that.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I vaguely remember something like that coming with probably the Funk Junkies.
Yeah. Props to Joe and that crew.
Dog Eat Dog says they're from New Jersey. And it said that they're they fused a variety of genres such as hardcore, punk, rock, metal, hip hop, and funk. So okay, I gotta check them out.
I think they toured with Head PE. That's what it was.
Okay.
Now it's starting. I'm gonna have to see. Now I'm gonna be deep diving.
That's right, dude.
Right? Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
That's the whole point to this.
Now back to the Best Buy and even like the Homers and CD warehouses and Pickles Records and stuff. And Sam Goody. In a lot of stuff I'm saying is regional to Iowa, Nebraska, and Kansas and Missouri and stuff. But this is true, obviously, elsewhere. But the CD samplers were huge at the time. Nu metal was kind of breaking through on a bigger avenue. So remember going to the record store and getting the CD samplers with the bands, or you would buy a magazine and there'd be a CD sampler with like 10 different songs. I think this, because nobody had a CD player in the car, but everybody had a tape player in the car with the wire, with the little Walkman, and if you went over a train track, it skipped. So we all had a way to play CDs. Remember that?
Dude.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But
a little tape adapter.
We're talking technology, CD samplers, and then burning CDs. I remember burning my first, because I would make cassette mixtapes, and I remember burning CDs, and they would take, if you burnt a 60-minute CD, it took 60 minutes. No, it took 62 minutes, because then it would finalize and then eject the tape.
Yeah.
And then you got like 48 times, and then you could just be like, then you started handing demos out everywhere.
That's right.
Like a spindle, take it to
Oh,
the
yeah.
venue, and like if there was a, you know, oh, Suicidal Tendencies is at the Ranch Bowl, I'm about to hand out 200 CDs. Or something,
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. The CD sampler thing, you know, that was kind of an enigma, I think, you know, and I think it's,
Yeah.
you know, Jeff and I have talked about this in the past, you know, the sampler that came with Follow the Leader.
Yeah.
The 100,000 copies that came with, I think that launched a lot of new metal bands,
Yeah.
just in general. And
Yeah.
then it kind of like after that, the sampler thing became fairly routine. Like labels
Yeah.
were just throwing them out to anybody who would grab
Yeah.
one, you know,
But
which
you're
is,
right.
you know,
Immortal was like on that first, and so was
Sure
like
was.
outside of thing, Loud Records with like Wu-Tang and in the Alcoholics and groups like that. Because I remember I got an exhibit, but you know, way before Pimp My Ride, an exhibit sampler at a Warp Tour. It was like during Fishbone's set or somebody,
Oh, sure.
or maybe like Pennywise or something. And this dude with braids is just out there like rapping and handing out samplers. Like he was out handing his own samplers out, and I was like, this guy's awesome. And exhibit now he's worldwide.
Yeah. Well, that's the
That's
thing. I
wild.
think there's something with that though too that I think you know, like you guys know who Nardwuar is?
Mm-hmm.
He's that guy that does all those interviews and stuff of
With the
bands and
glasses, right?
people.
Well,
Yeah, he's got the glasses and wears like
he
a
knows everything about everybody.
old, oh my gosh, yeah, he's got like an old school like golf cap or something like a little ball on top. Super cool. He's from Canada and stuff. Dan, if you've never seen him, you gotta look him up,
I
man.
haven't.
He's got, oh my gosh, you could watch his stuff for freaking years. He goes way back, way back. But anyways, one of the cool things that he does, he's all about nostalgia with bands and hip hop groups and everything else. And he'll interview somebody and he'll bring stuff with him. You know, like I think back to like when he had like Snoop Dogg and he was interviewing Snoop Dogg and he was bringing out samplers of tapes and stuff like that, you know, back before he was ever big and everything. He was like, dude, I was selling this out of the trunk of my car. Holy crap, how did you find this? I've been looking for this, you know. And like he does it with everybody. He had ICP on, he was doing the same thing. And
Tyler the Creator is the one I think I watched recently.
Yeah.
Odd Future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And he just comes out with just the craziest stuff. And they're like, how do you do this? Or you've been stalking me for the past 25 years? You know, it's a trip watching that guy, man. It's crazy. But yeah, but my point is like, you know, having those old samplers and stuff, you know, when you're doing it, you know, as a band or a musician, you're just thinking, I'm just trying to get my stuff out. You're not thinking that it's gonna have some sort of impact on somebody that could potentially come back and have an impact on you again, you know. And because like I think me and Dan talked about this, like we had samplers and stuff, and I had, you know, not too long ago, a few years ago, somebody brought me one, was like, hey, you know, will you sign this? I'm like, holy crap, I absolutely forgot that we did that one, you know. And the fact that you kept on to it and then saw me and then brought it to me to sign it again, like, wow, that was freaking cool. Like it hit you right in the heart. It was awesome.
People like free stuff.
Yep.
Along that vein, so I was in a car. I'm in a car ride recently, and a Noise Wave song came up on their playlist, and we kind of laughed.
Nice.
And there was a hidden track. We did a CD called 420. And back when you put a CD on the tray of like not the boom boxes necessarily, but like the rack mount CD players, and then especially the Philips and Sony brand, when you put the CD in, the number of tracks would come up, and then the length of the album.
Oh, sure.
And so we had 4 tracks, and it was exactly I drove the engineer nuts. I remember when we were mastering, I go, it has to be 0.00 seconds, can't be 20. So when you put it in the CD player, it said 420.
Nice.
Side note, remember Caius Sky Valley? How all the tracks were like all the songs were like on 3 tracks.
Yeah,
we'll go back to that.
Sure.
Part out, but Caius, this isn't about Doom. This is new metal. But the so anyway, there's a hidden track of one of our singles from the album before, Lunchbox Benny, and it mentioned a bunch of regional bands. But we went back and re-recorded it for the CP that followed up, and it says Downshift and Narcotic Self in the second version. because the original version was like 3 Day Meat Sale and Clever and Pomeroy and those bands. And then we went back and did it with and Chando's in the second one. Like, so we just did, because there's so many bands that we had friends in so many bands, so we re-recorded it and just listened to all the bands. And I had forgot we did that, and we were listening to this car, and I was like, "That's so awesome!"
And yeah, speaking of nostalgia,
so when you listen back to some of your old music, is it awkward for you? It's awkward for me, just in general, like, you know, unless it triggers some kind of memory. It's like, oh, I could have done that better. I could have, you know. It just feels awkward to me sometimes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. That's a great question. Having a daughter, some of the stuff I said is problematic now, but knowing that it was just for entertainment or for fun, and nobody really, even if like we played a year or two ago opening for Green Jello over. Like the people watching know I live by waiting room, but this is that waiting room that's irrelevant. But and I remember doing a couple songs, and I feel like, should I have an intro, like, you know, I don't really think along these lines, but people don't really dive into it. It all depends on how you like push it. Sure. So some of the stuff is misogynist or sexist, but it's not, because it's tongue in cheek, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
It's kind of like, in a weird comparison, maybe like License to Ill Beastie Boys to like MCA being a Buddhist, ill communication moving forward Beastie Boys energy.
Yeah, sure.
But music aside, when people tell me stories from shows is what I cringe at. Stuff I said wrong.
So I shouldn't bring any of those up?
No, you can. That's it's like way along past the statute of limitations. We were known so much. Noise Wave was known so much for like smoking weed and drinking that the shtick kind of got carried away. And we had regional success, and we actually sold 100,000 CDs when CDs were selling. I mean, we had a couple, 3 labels calling us and stuff, and we kind of, and then, you know, you start a family and it goes a different direction, or the music business changed, it goes in a different light, different direction. But I think the behavior, because people will be like, remember that time you were doing mushrooms and you hit somebody in the face with a microphone stand, and I was like, no, I kind of do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to be known for that. I want to be known, but it's part of the journey. And if you knew the backstory, I was solving a bigger problem, but that doesn't make it right necessarily. But you know, one of the fights that we got into, there was a guy being kind of pushy on one of my gal friends, and you know, I don't need to dive into that too much, but there's more to it. But people will come up to me, even so. We used to play with a band called Fonzarelli's, and Keith is one of the sound engineers at Waiting Room, and Thad, who used to help run like Cog Factory and stuff, they were in a band called Fonzarelli's. Thad's a police officer, and I work at a few venues around town, Stillhouse being one of them. He's a cop there, and I see him all the time, and he was like, oh, that was, he's a police officer. I'm still thinking I'm a rap star or something. And we're talking about like the good old days. And it's just like, don't bring that stuff up, man.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. It's, as an artist, it's when I listen to, stuff I did back then, it's just kind of like I over critique it, you know, it's like, and, it's, recording is different these days. I mean, it's night and day compared to what it was when I started making records. I mean, ADAT was still a thing when I started, but it's, every time I hear some of that older downshift stuff, I was like,
yeah, but
knowing what I know now, I would probably do something.
But with that though, you also, and you got to.
But that is the journey, like you said.
Right, it is the journey. But the other piece of it too is that what you're hearing and your experiences and everything is what you're hearing again And so
Yeah.
that's why I
Yeah.
love bringing up that point of where does this take you? You know, that we talk about a lot on this show is when you're listening to a song, it takes you somewhere. Well, obviously you're thinking about, oh man, I could have freaking layered this 3 more times. I could have, you know, why did I put a G there? I could have done a B flat, you know, whatever. You're thinking all these things. Somebody else is thinking of that song, like that's my favorite downshift song right there, or that's my favorite,
That's
whatever.
totally true.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
totally
You know,
true.
and you have no idea. You're like, oh, I hate this song. Like, that's my favorite one, you know, and it's like, oh man. So
Yeah.
You're right. I answered the question from like behavior and problematic, cringy lyrics. Sonically, the answer is still yes. But ironically, over the years, I remember we did a cassette. We put out Disc Makers, pressed it up, 1998. We did a cassette, homegrown hip hop, and we recorded it on 8-track DAT.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it sounds so cool and raw now.
Yeah.
But like the minimalistic recording technology compared to now actually kind of came back around and sounds cool again, where the stuff on Pro Tools maybe a few years, like 10 years ago, I'm like, I would have done this different, or wow. And the same with different genres of music. There was a while like if you go back, remember when Axl Rose, well, they're back at it just a couple of weeks ago, they put some new singles. Remember Axl Rose would do like different octaves and he sounded like 10 different voices sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, cool. And it is cool again, but hip hop tried that. Like NWA's got some stuff where they, like MC Ren would rap real monotonous or monotone, and then he'd rap high and low, and they would mix it. Well, then now in the last few years, you just kind of like Jay-Z, you just kind of do like one take and then do your overdubs. You don't try to sound like, it's kind of corny to do it a lot of tracks in different voices, like it was way cool in the 90s. And we did some of that, and I go back and sonically it's like too much. Because then you're like fighting, like I'm like, every time the cymbal hits and I'm rapping, you can't hear it, but then my brother with the high voice is rapping, you can hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's wild how far technology's come, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's cool that we're talking about the 8-track, like the DAT and everything. It's like it is getting cool again, because I think, again, we've talked about this before, and I'm sorry I keep saying that, but it's you know, I think with the technology today, it's too easy to do too much, you know, and I think that it seems very separated, you know, if you're, because again, we're just in the business, like now when you're making music and stuff, is really easy to take this part. Okay, now let's take this part. Like I said, you're not actually writing a song and then recording it. It's like you're taking all these parts and layering them on top of each other and trying to make a cool song sometimes. And I think it's really easy to do that. And so what's cool about, like, you know, that old school stuff, even when it has like a little bit of like a crackle to it and stuff like that, and it's very like tonal, gosh dang, it's just, there's something to that though, that, you know, it just has such a neat, like, I don't know, just like it just pulls a feeling out of you of like just the nostalgia, obviously, and stuff. But it's like you get like a one and done with that stuff, you know, even like recorded on tape and stuff back in the day. You just have to think about how much was put into that to get that overall sound. And whereas today it's just so easy and people just, you know, whip up anything, you know. And so I don't know.
Yeah, that's true with hip hop, just creation, because you used to go digging through the crates at like a used like a Canesville Collectibles or like a used record store, and go through and get samples and stuff to scratch. And now you can I used to have to hook the VCR up through the turntables and then put a mic by the JBLs, and now you can just go like, I want a Scarface movie sample. It's you know, it's crazy how much the technology's changed things.
And you know, Jeff and I talk about, you know, studios a lot too, you know, as we kind of, you know, since we started this show, I've, you know, kind of nerded out on, you know, different studios that a lot of these new metal bands recorded in, you know, and kind of to your point, Jeff, it's like, you know, these studios themselves had their own kind of unique sound to them too. You know, Indigo had its own sound, Longview Farms had its own sound, you know, and a whole host of others. And, you know, as we kind of talk through a lot of these records that we have, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, I hear it now in this Seven Dust record. I hear it in this Head PE record or whatever it is. And you just know when a record was done at Indigo Ranch. You just, it just has that distinct sound to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hip hop.
And I think that's kind of lost these days.
sorry to cut you off.
No,
Hip
you're
hop
fine.
D&D studios in New York were like Gangstar, DJ Premier, like Black Moon. A lot of the East Coast hip hop groups from the 90s and early 2000s recorded, and you can definitely tell D&D. One of the D stands for Dungeon, but it was like. And then you have Outkast, who's produced by the Dungeon family in Atlanta, and they kind of have their own sound. Like the producers have their own sound, but the rooms do have their own sounds too when you really dive into it and listen to the records.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just wild to kind of go back and think about all that, you know, whether it was through these records or kind of, you know, our experience, you know.
Sure.
So, but yeah, it's fun. And I think it's, you know, having done a number of records, you know, since then, it's, you know, I feel like that's kind of lost anymore. You know, because you can do everything at home now.
Right.
You know, you can do everything in your bedroom.
Yeah.
You know. It's
Yeah, with just a little bit of money. Like
Well,
it doesn't take a lot, you know. Just some time, you know.
I mean, you get your instruments in a DAW and you're done.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. For sure. Okay, so coming back to the new metal side of things, Surreal. So what thinking back, like what was like the first time like you can recall the first time that you heard like new metal and or heard new metal with that hip hop? Obviously, you know, Korn is probably going to be in there and stuff, but thinking about that, like when was the first time you're like, oh snap?
So when I was little, I heard Rock Box by Run DMC with the guitar, and I wanted to do. I was real in the 80s. I was real into like Britney Fox and
Oh,
like
yeah.
Leopard, and you get it.
Sure.
You know, like the hair bands.
It's funny that you bring up Britney Fox as the first hair band though. Like that's
Well, Cinderella was probably my favorite.
that's
And
awesome,
they're
dude.
more bluesy, but
No, that's good. That's
who did
awesome.
who did the Nightmare on Elm Street soundtrack?
Oh, like the 80s band?
Dawkins was on it.
Yeah. That's what I was.
There you
Yeah,
go.
like I was into that. Yeah, I
Sure.
don't want to bring for it, but so you know, Poison. I had all the and Bon Jovi. I had all those cassettes, but I also had like Fat Boys and Slick Rick and Public Enemy and LL Cool J and stuff. So I wanted to when I heard like Run DMC. I mean, a year or two later, they did the song with Aerosmith, but they in their first records, like King of Rock and like Rock Box, they still had Larry, I think it was, playing guitar on them on the records. I wanted to do a band called Zebra because it's black stripes and white stripes. And I was like in third and fourth grade or something. And side A was rap, and side B was metal. And then when the band started melding it more together, I was like kind of blown away.
Yeah.
But I was like, I remember walking to school coming up with, I'm going to start a band called Zebra, and we're going to do both, you know, metal and hip hop. And then, but I'm the Man by Anthrax is an early one too.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you know, and that I would have had BC Boy records before then, but you know, that's still a small time frame.
Sure.
But I remember like hearing my mom worked at Richmond Gordman, and there was a guy that worked there that used to make me remember how like you could get the 3 for $1 kind of cheap cassette tapes, blank tapes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like they didn't have a case, but then you could spend a little bit more money and get like the TDK ones, and they like smelled fresh when you opened them, and they were like heavy and gray. I think Maxell's were nice too, but remember those?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They were like the Type 2 noise reduction, and he would like, get the TDK like it was like maybe $3 or $4 for a blank tape. That's unheard of. And he would like Run DMC and Anthrax and all these bands and stuff. And I remember Anthrax was huge early on, and then even like NWA with their image, like wearing the all black, the Raiders stuff and the LA Kings stuff. Their stuff rarely had guitar in it. Some of the songs did, but it had the real hard drums.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I can't think of. Oh, I saw Deftones before they were big, and it was at Royal Grove. It was before Adrenaline came out. They were touring for the 7 Words. So I went to Iowa State. I had my own. I DJ'd my own show on the. Had my own radio show in the morning. They're like middle of the night when no one was listening. But so I had a copy of. And this was right when Sublime was coming out too, who is ska punk reggae, but they used the DJ too, you know. But
oh sure,
going in all different directions. So I had Deftones was touring off 7 word single. It was just dropped on like Alternative Nation or Headbangers Ball, maybe. And Teething was the B-side, which they redid for the Crow soundtrack. But I remember driving to Royal Grove in Lincoln, and it was 12 people in the audience. This is back when Chino had the long hair, and you know, I just was blown away. Like that was the first time where I was like blown away. They did Iron Maiden and Slayer cover, and then they did like Engine 9 off. I mean, it was just like they were playing like Abe on the drums just sounded so hip hop.
Yeah.
But Tino just screaming his guts out. I was like, insane.
Yeah. Well, one thing, and one thing I'm going to say based on like what you were saying there, Surreal, is kind of like based on the distinction though, is I think that like all the bands that you were bringing up before, it was like they were all hip hop and they were like bringing in sounds of rock.
Yeah.
But then like Deftones was rock bringing in sounds of hip hop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of and not to disparage any, hip hop.
No,
I mean, obviously
that's
Run DMC, obviously,
yeah.
they all did such an amazing job in doing that and everything. But I think that was the distinction though, where things really started to kind of take off and stuff. Cause I think of like, even like Faith No More and, like with Epic and stuff like that. It was like,
oh yeah. That's,
what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it was like all of a sudden it was like, hi, we're a metal band, but we're going to like dip into this and stuff and bring this out, because I think Aerosmith, and Run DMC, I think a lot of people say that that's probably like the moment where everything really crashed together and started to go off in a different direction, which is cool. And I do agree with that to an extent, but again, I think that those songs were like already kind of pre-written and just kind of mashed together and it
that's
off.
true. Even like a great example of what you're saying, I agree with you, is Fat Boys, Beach Boys, Wipeout.
Yep.
Like that's totally just a mashup, and it worked, and it's still you listen to it now and it's kind of like, it's clever and funny, but you're not going to jam it all day.
Exactly. Right. But it just wasn't written intentionally to have this particular sound. And that's where I think, like Faith No More, then obviously Deftones and, Korn and whoever, the list goes on and on. I think that's where it really started to grow.
Rage Freedom, the track Freedom was an early one too, where I really was like, okay, these guys are really putting a lot of, and they used to have the disclaimer, no electronic instruments or turntables were used in the making of this, because they did the scratches on the strings and everything. So they're definitely, was that 91 when that dropped?
Yeah.
It's a funny thing is I was making mixtape mashing, doing my own mashups of like rock and hip hop, in like 85, 86 when all those early records were out. But fast forward to when I'm in high school, Rage and Deftones are two for sure. Obviously, Blind, the bass line on Blind, Korn. I mean, that actually might be the one. I mean, it's undeniable. It is doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
And then I remember being from Omaha. Do you ever feel like, and I just worked the Faint show a few weeks ago. I love those guys. But I feel like the Saddle Creek Records and the indie thing kind of separated, because like the hip hop, the rap kids and the rock kids are kind of going to like Limp Bizkit or even like De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest shows, and it on a maybe like Hot Topic and MTV made it kind of corny, but they're kind of all these genres are getting along, and the indie kids were kind of like, rightfully so, there needs to be somebody that's punk and indie and like F everybody else. I get that and I respect that, but here locally it was really like Insane Clown Posse and Fred Durst are corny. Well, that's what they're doing. Like it has a certain corniness to it. That's what's going on, and we're having fun. Because I think ICP played a big role with like Piggy, I think, with that one of the not Sex Pistols. Who was that? It wasn't Doyle. Boy, I feel like I should know this. I feel like as a DJ I failed, but somebody played guitar on Great Malenko. I
think it was Slash, actually.
Can we fact check?
I think it was Slash.
Was it Slash? I know Slash played Black or White with Michael Jackson.
Yeah. I remember hearing something that it was Slash. I don't remember why or how, but
they were on Hollywood, which was Disney, and they yanked the record off like that day, and I got an original.
Yeah, they did. You have the original one? You have the original?
I think it's the purple one, from Hollywood.
Nice.
So Jeff and I were talking. Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols
Oh, was it? Okay. Why did I think it was
so he played
Slash?
guitar on Piggy Pie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, Steve Jones.
Okay.
Nice.
I need to brush up, man.
Yeah,
me
come
too.
on, man.
Come on, my
Jeez.
memory.
Yeah.
No, that's
Jeff and I
awesome.
we were talking a while back regarding ICP, because I think, Jeff, I don't want to speak for you, but I've been an ICP fan since Malenko came out.
Yep.
Even before then, we were rocking Riddlebox for a long time.
Absolutely.
And that was I remember distinctly, at least in my kind of orbit, like ICP was like accepted by the new metal community by and large. Like everybody was an ICP fan, I think. I just remember that being a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in merch wise too,
Right.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely merch wise.
They were all over.
Yeah. Well, and they just had a certain aesthetic, that I think fit, especially with the new metal world, because again, face paint, masks, all that stuff was so prevalent. So again, it just slid right in. And, they had a lot of metal influence on a lot of their stuff. I mean, I remember there was a period of time where, Violent J especially was really into screaming, and he was like trying to show that off and stuff. And, but again, I think that those two, ICP and metal just blend together so well. And, but again, I agree with you. I still am, an ICP, not necessarily a Juggalo ICP fan, but I love them.
Some of the I don't know if you guys went to church when you were little, but some of the Christian CCM and Christian metal bands, when everybody went to malls, the Christian bookstores had a small like rap and metal section, like you get like DC Talk or something.
Sure.
But some of the early Christian death metal groups experimented with hip hop real early on. Because remember the time when like Argyle Park, and a lot of it was industrial too, but like they had the Christian bookstores had this thing where you bought like 4 or 5 cassettes or CDs, and then you got like a 5th or 6th free. It was a little sticker. I don't know if you remember that promotional thing that they did. But like kids that were kind of forced to go to church when they were little will be watching this, but I'm like, I remember that.
Yeah.
Amy Grant.
I went to the wrong church.
But I remember a lot of there was a band called 12th Tribe that a lot of the
I remember them.
Yeah, a lot of the bands really. I don't know culturally. There was a guy, Scott. Oh, he's an industrial producer, but he had a lot of. He was kind of like the Trent Reznor of the Christian. I don't know.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
But,
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
keep talking.
There was a compilation called Metamorphosis. I know, like Dave from Names Without Numbers. If he watches this, he knows all the bands. He's gonna be like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But anyway, I'm getting too specific. Downset's another one that they kind of had a diss. They had that some diss track. Oh, Anger was a diss track towards Zach from Rage, but Downset was opener for. I went to Sokol Underground years ago. Earth Crisis was the headliner.
Oh
yeah,
and Downset was the opener, and they broke the stage, so they invited me up to freestyle while the drummer played beats, while they kind of patched the stage. And this is like, remember the pole?
Oh yeah,
I remember the pole.
This is right in front of the pole.
Yeah.
So I got one of my first experiences is with like one of my first memories with like new metal or rock rap was getting to freestyle with Downset's drummer while they kind of fixed the stage so they could finish the show.
Nice. Dude, that's awesome.
Nice. The industrial awesome. The industrial band. Were you talking about Circle of Dust?
Yes. Brainchild was their other name.
Oh,
yes. Metamorphosis was the
Absolutely.
Who was the producer? Scott?
I don't know. I took everything I mean to remember Circle of Dust, bro.
Yeah, no. But so the producer, they did remixes for like Living Sacrifice, like a lot of the Christian death metal at the time, but they incorporated a lot of like breakdowns that were hip hop and stuff like real early on. And I don't know, I think it was just some kid in the basement producing, and he liked the sound, and it kind of started just being, it wasn't like the singles and it wasn't all over the radio, but it was like, if you had your foot even a little bit in like in the Christian metal scene back then, like this, I'm not talking like Petra, I'm not dissing any bands,
right?
Like
Sure.
Like some of those bands were like super heavy. They
Oh,
just
gosh,
like
yeah.
System Failure type stuff where
Yeah.
it's just super heavy in your face. And
Mhm.
they were great musicians too. It just was
Oh,
on
yeah.
a plane.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like Clayton, so I think is that who you're talking about with Circle of Death? So he's like the main guy, and I think he's very much like Trent Reznor, put the stuff all together himself or whatever. But then he went on to Cell Dweller as well.
Cell Dweller, and I think
Yep.
Argyle Park.
Yep.
But he would in that first record, he had those Ren and Stimpy samples. And I'm like, these
Yeah.
guys are like Holy Rollers, Jesus
Right.
Freak. They're like
Yeah.
sample Ren and Stimpy. This is genius. To me, it was just genius because they were doing what it was kind of rock and roll in that aspect. They were kind of like, we were raised this way in the church, but we're still crazy and loud, and the music's just in your face. And I always respected that. I always thought there were some good records.
Heck
And,
yeah.
some of it's corny, but a lot of it's pretty good.
No. And
Remember
that's the
Living
thing.
Sacrifice?
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
dude.
still tour at POD.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Do they
they're still
really?
doing it, man.
Yeah, I saw them
I
in
re-
'96 at like a church house party basement thing, and
Yeah.
they're
re-
pretty incredible live. I won't
Yeah.
lie.
Kyle from System Failure got me hooked on them.
Yeah,
He gave me a cassette tape. And he's like, dude, we had some classes together in college, and he's like, you got to check this out. He's like, have you ever heard of these guys? I was like, no. He's like, here's a cassette, like a dub tape, and I'm like, perfect. And we had it going in our band van, like everywhere we went. Like
yeah, that's
Cameron,
awesome.
our drummer, and I, we wore that tape out.
Yeah, they're
Like
awesome,
it literally
though.
snapped.
They're so
I just-
heavy.
I just saw Kyle. at 200 Stab Wounds a few months ago.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There
Yeah,
was
I remember
actually,
that.
speaking of like Christian and new metal and stuff like that, there was actually quite a few pretty good bands back in the day. Like I always think Demon Hunter is one of my favorite bands of all time. I thought they're so freaking awesome. And then, but then there was like, I mean, even like 1,000 Foot Crutch and Pillar.
Yeah.
And,
Pillar,
there's some good ones back then.
Well,
Mhm.
and not. So my son's first concert was Skillet, and
Nice.
that's cringy, but I thought they had some good records.
Yeah, no skill. I mean,
They did.
Hey man,
They absolutely
had
It's
some.
poppier. It's poppy.
It is
but
poppy.
yeah,
I
They
think
got them hooked.
Yeah, they got
Yeah.
the hooks, man. I think skill.
It's all that
lost-
matters anymore.
Yeah, they
is the
lost it
hook.
for me when they had that monster song. That was
Yeah, exactly.
corny.
What? How did that one go? I don't remember that one.
Dude, I'm not gonna sing it. There's
No,
way.
no. You'd have to put ASCAP would be coming after you.
That's right. That's gotta be coming after me. Yeah, Google
Bring
it.
it on. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Google it. Yeah, God, that's funny.
Yeah, we took our kids to. I'm trying to remember the name. I'm not gonna be able to remember. But actually, my kids' first concert too was also a Christian metal band. I'm trying to remember who it was. It was like something with fire in it, but it was a chick lead singer. I'm trying to remember the name of them. I'm not gonna remember. But either way, it was a fun time. But we got that in common, I
Evanescence on
guess.
fire? No, I mean,
Yeah, that's funny. Anyways,
Yeah.
so man, we went off a big Christian change. I didn't expect that to go this route. That's kind of fun. So speaking of DJs and stuff, though, obviously, very prevalent in new metal and everything. So who would you say, top three stand out, for you, Surreal?
So DJ Lord, who when Terminator X retired from Public Enemy, and he has an ostrich farm now.
Nice.
DJ Lord took over, and he tours with Public Enemy with a live band. I saw them at Knickerbockers or Bourbon, I guess. Bourbon, and they had a full band when I saw them. But anyway, DJ Lord, and then he tours with Public Enemy and now Cypress Hill because DJ Muggs is doing more production. And then also DJ Lord, when Public Enemy and B Real from Cypress had that super group Prophets of Rage with the Rage guys, he's a DJ for that too. So I would his scratching and his understanding of blending genres is just unmatched. So I'd put DJ Lord, DJ Lethal from House of Pain. He also produced that first Sugar Ray album.
Yep.
Which DJ Homicide from Sugar Ray is another good. They're not new metal per se, but the rock.
Sure.
Until they were pop. Yes, they're regular.
Yeah.
So DJ Lord, DJ Lethal from House of Pain in La Coca Nostra and Limp Bizkit, and then probably Sid. I would put Sid.
Oh wow. Yep.
I got to perform with Sid. I did. So one of his DJ buddies, DJ A-Track, Albie from Des Moines, Sid and Albie had a studio called, was it Moonbase? And I recorded, one of them was on Bandcamp. I recorded a couple songs with Sid, and I got the pleasure of in Lincoln performing with him and my buddy Jamaz. As I did the chorus on the song, but I got to DJ his whole set using his equipment, like that big metal. It's so heavy and huge. Yeah. But he's like, "You're my DJ for tonight." We got a little bit of a warm up, but like Matt, like one of the best in the world of all time new metal DJs. I'm here DJing for his set in Lincoln, Nebraska. I guess I hadn't really thought about it until you guys asked me to come on here, but that was pretty crazy. It's one of those things where it happened so fast.
Right. But, sure.
Yeah. He said, "You did a pretty good job, but you should be more crazy on stage and push me more." I was like, "Push you more?" He was like, "Yeah, I want you to like push me and ram into me more." I was like, "Oh man,
this is a dude who broke both ankles in the middle of his show." So, I mean,
yeah. So Ozzy's daughter, Kelly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a runner for a Sokol show, I used to work for Sophia and Matt at Ranch Bowl and Sokol and West Fair and everywhere. I was a runner for John of Goldfinger, and he had just produced the Used album. And I remember having to go to not Whole Foods, but their competitor where they had the vegan food at the time on Dodge. This is getting way too specific, but I had a white Honda Civic with all the Ranch Bowl band stickers on the back. And I was picking up John here in your bedroom.
Yeah.
He's the producer. And he was like, "This is a Honda Civic. And he's like, he was a vegan. He goes, "I need artichoke pizza." And I was like, "I know, we'll go get it." And he's like, I got some buddies that need a ride. So the band, the Used, was in the back seat of my Honda Civic. Well, 3 of them. And John was shotgunning. I'm driving back to the venue. And I remember talking to, I can't even think of his name, but Kelly, Ozzy's daughter, was dating the singer of the Used at the time.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was thinking about this the other day, R.I.P. Ozzy. I've hung out with like 2 of Kelly's boyfriends in my life. I don't know why. It just makes for a funny story.
No, that's cool.
I mean, John's a super cool, sweet human being. Super good. He was super cool. The funny thing, it was the day their like 4th album came out, the one with the boxing ring, and I ran to Best Buy coincidentally while he was at the store. I dropped him off as a runner, ran and bought his CD, and came back and was listening. By this time I had a CD player in my car.
Yeah.
Everybody else probably had Bluetooth. No, but I remember he's like, "You went and bought the album?" So just a lot of like, I'm getting off the main topic, but it was just the Used, cool band.
Yeah.
John Goldfinger, cool band. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's awesome, man. No, that's cool that it's not just even like I met them and got a picture taken with them stories. I mean, you got like a legitimate stories, you know. That's cool, man.
Yeah, well, I hung out with Violent J and Shaggy a few times. I actually toured 2 years ago with Shaggy, like the Midwest leg of his solo tour. And DJ Clay, his DJ Clay's another one that doesn't get enough love. ICP's DJ.
Yeah.
Because he wears a lot of hats, like kind of like TM, tour manager for some of the Psychopathic. So, man, I got a million stories. Ouija Mac, who is signed to Psychopathic, just moved to Iowa.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's been creating a lot of content on and he's always at like there's like a Casey's or a Hy-Vee in the background or something.
Sure.
And I think I got it down to where he lives, but I won't bust that out. But
I got his IP address.
But I've opened for him a couple times that he's a super cool human being too. Ouija Mac, Psychopathic.
That's awesome. So what was it like hanging out with Violent J and Shaggy and stuff?
Yeah. How are they?
Yeah.
Real down to earth. They love talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
And they're not insane all the time. The first time I met them was like Big Money Hustlers? Or no. It was because I've also hung out with Mad Rocks and Monoxide from Twisted a few times.
Yeah.
It was the Mirror tour for Twisted before they were on Magic Ninja.
Yep.
And I remember Monoxide, no. Jamie Mad Rocks, I was a runner, same white car. We had to go to on 84th. What's that Halloween place on 84th?
Mangelson's?
Yeah, we went to Mangelson's.
Yeah.
And it was he goes, "I need like a Hall of Illusion mirror type weird mirror." I go, "I know, just a spot." So we go there. I have this little Honda Civic, and he's like, "Can we tie this to the top of your car?" And I'm like, "No."
That's awesome.
So we called the guy with the pickup to come and get it. So there's this pickup following me with, and he's not in face paint yet, but you know, I'm going back to the Ranch Bowl with Jamie Madrox from Twisted, and he's got this pickup behind me with this giant, like, circus Hall of Illusions type mirror. That it was just funny. And then he leaves his cell phone in my car, and this is when the cell phones had the big long antenna.
Yeah,
and they didn't have the thumb or nothing. Like,
right.
Oh God, should I give it back to him? Because this is when I was showing a demo with like these like psychopathic and like suburban noise. Strange music was just kind of getting out there. And I was like, so I looked through it, and sure enough, Joey,
no way,
Mark, it had everybody in the industry number in it. And I was like, no, that ain't the right way to go about stuff. So I went and gave him his phone back. But
oh man, good for you, dude. That's because that Christian background is what it is, Surreal. It's all those Christian tapes as a kid.
It's all because I listened to Circle of Dust.
That's right. That's exactly right. Gosh darn it. That's so funny. Man, that's fun. You got stories for days though, man.
Yeah. I mean, I met Nelly, Joan Jett. I mean, just because I've been in the music industry.
Sure.
So, I mean, I do have a lot of stories. I was trying to stick to I have a song with the second singer from Primer 55 on like iTunes and stuff.
Yeah.
It's called, was it Rhyme Swap? It's with Donnie.
Yeah, DRP.
But then,
the DRP.
DRP, yeah. I remember Noisewave opened for Vanilla Ice, and his drummer, it was the tour for, because it was Noisewave and Idle Apathy were the openers, I believe.
Yeah.
And, his drummer, Felipe, Disco Stew is now Richie Dager's a DJ in Des Moines. He was wearing a Michael Jackson shirt, like Thriller shirt. And this was right when the accusations about Michael Jackson were coming out. So this was like 02, 03. And the drummer, Vanilla Ice's drummer, got real mad and wanted to fight my DJ because of this shirt. And we're like, whoa.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that was when Vanilla Ice did the new metal.
Yeah.
Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, I was at that show. I was there.
That's awesome. Primer 55 with the original singer, it was Noisewave, Fonzarelli's, and I don't remember. I think it was Vernaculus when they first started. You know, props to all the bands I've mentioned too, and all the venues and all the scenesters and everybody too. But we were opening for Primer 55, and they got mad because Noisewave and Fonzarelli's, we were selling more. Props to, I'm not talking negative on anybody, but Primer 55's like manager got real mad because we were selling more merch than the headliner, and they were like, "You got to go out to the parking lot and sell that because you're or drop the price." That's what it was. He goes, "You can sell," and he was really mad at us, and that was kind of my first. What was their album with like the car and the cartoon on the front? Remember?
Introduction to Man.
It was that tour, I think, because their second one was like white on the front.
With the cross on it.
With the cross.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was early.
Yeah.
Timer, and they props to them. They killed the stage. They rocked. Their show was amazing, but I just remember their TM, their tour manager, hated the local openers.
You know, it's I probably shouldn't say it, but I will. You know, I don't think that's really changed all that much. You know, I've run into a few TMs that were not pleased I was there.
Yeah.
On certain shows, and it's like, okay, I get it. We're trying to be cool. You know, we'll get through the night. Don't worry.
You know who?
Some actually make it hard too.
Yeah. Like you got to park 7 blocks down and carry all your gear.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
In some town you don't know where you're at.
That's right.
Yeah. I watched, I won't name the band, but I watched a tour manager. There was another band that was opening the show, and my band was slotted second, and they showed up like a half an hour late. I have never heard a TM rip into a band like this guy ripped into them before. Don't you ever, who do you think you are? Don't you ever show up this late again? And I'm sitting there going, oh my God. It's like, I wasn't going to piss this guy off anyways, but geez, you know, and I was like, wow, okay. And then he was strict, like to the second. If your set went over, you were cut.
Jeez.
Like, yeah. And
the
for some
Christian
odd
Bale
reason,
came out of him, huh?
Oh man, for some odd reason, we ended up getting like extra time. So maybe he cut him short anyways.
Nice.
And you know,
Probably.
Maybe it
know,
worked out in
I
our favor. I don't know. But anyway.
I learned over the years to moves with the sound engineers, the venue owners, the TMs of the headline.
Mhm.
Like, not you don't really have to kiss his butt or be fake, but you have
Right.
to like let them know you get that
Yeah.
it's a big production. There's
Right.
It's their show.
work,
Yep.
and it's about staying on time. And if different
Mhm.
markets have different rules about how late you can play till and noise ordinance.
Yep.
And you can't just. I know as opening bands sometimes we're like, well, we've been rehearsing like 3 times a week at my buddy's garage, and we bought all these T-shirts, and and the mediums don't fit, and or whatever. You're
Right.
all invested in this, and then
Yeah.
and then it's not. But it's about the bigger production. It's about everything fitting the venue selling drinks and maybe food.
Sure.
And making money, and the tour going smoothly, and the tour manager's stressed out. Sometimes they are kind of buttheads, but if once you start letting people know, and some people you're never going to please, that's every business life, but it does it once you kind of like, I'm the local guy, but we get what's going on in the bigger picture, and kind of like, some people you can kind of win over. They're like, you can play one more song.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think we did that with this guy, and I think he realized we knew what we were doing. We'd done this before.
Yeah. I could see Jesse being like not putting up with that shit too, though.
Oh yeah, but
you're right though about like treating everybody that's a part of that with respect, because I made that mistake, and the band I was in before, Downshift, we were playing this headline show at Funplex when they were doing shows there.
Yeah,
and
we're playing with Normandy Circle.
Heck yeah. And so we were playing this gig, and I was just having a bad night, and I could not get the freaking sound right on stage. I could barely hear what the hell was going on. I was getting real pissed off and stuff. And so I just like chewed this freaking, sound engineer out from the stage, like in front of the crowd and everything. Dude, that dude just freaking just turned everything wide open, and it was just through the monitors. I couldn't hear nothing but noise. I was like, all right, I deserve that. Thanks, bro. Just blowing my eardrums out the rest of the night. I'm like, well, at least I can hear it, I guess. But man, I messed up big time on that one. Learned my lesson. But
that's classic.
Yeah. I mean, it's a show. It's, in kind of sum total, you know what I mean? And everybody has to play their part the way it needs to be played for it to go smooth.
Yep. Okay, I got to circle back real quick. Surreal, you brought up one important figure in my life that if you're like a couple people away, it sounds like, and I got to meet this man. But it's like, I told Dan, I was like, we will come like I will hit how do you want it? The Mecca. Like I've hit it big. Once if we can get Vanilla Ice on this show, like that's like, I'm such a fan of that dude. Like I would totally nerd out. But if you got his number, you let me know.
I got a lot of connections. I might be Kevin Bacon 2 steps from that.
That would be sweet.
I'll look through. I think I do have somebody. Yeah.
Dude, that'd be crazy.
That might be possible, but
yeah, that'd be crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because
he can hook that up though.
Those 90s tours with like Salt and Pepper and Tone Loc, and then he tours on his own, and he's obviously real big, and he was real big in the motocross world, and then more recently the TV and the home restoration world, and he's got his foot in so many hustles.
Yeah,
I had met him. There was a band called Scott's Wallet back in the day, and Ryan from Scott's Wallet introduced me. I actually, years before I got to open for Vanilla Ice, so I met him before the metal album, and he was playing acoustic guitar, and he was he was cool. It would have been 99 because I gave him a demo CD, and he was kind of indifferent, but he was cool. But and then like I said, when we opened for him, he was cool. It was his drummer that had a problem, but but I mean that's water on the
sure.
Bridge. But I do respect his hustle and his business mind. He's a smart guy.
He goes after it, man, and that's the thing. It's like some of the Speaking of hustle, I mean that's what he's probably most known for outside of making billions of dollars off of one song, But and I don't mean that disparage him, but no, I mean his hustle is incredible, and that's the thing. I watch a lot of his YouTube videos and stuff about just like how he goes after it. And it's like you got to live and breathe this stuff. And like he just learned everything like trial by fire. And then he just like started teaching himself by reading all these books and everything. And he knows
Yeah.
so much about taxes and insurance and all this other stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
how many
Selling real
people?
estate. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like how many people?
I heard recently, read recently, MC Hammer's getting into the tech game. And
Oh,
doing
is he?
that? So, you know, so I DJ weddings still, like
Yeah.
a lot. That's, you know, I DJ a lot, like proms and weddings, and you know, like Ice Ice Baby and like the Tone Lokes and the MC
Yeah.
Hammers and the Vanilla Ices and Young MC, and like some of them may or may not be one hit wonders, but they have those records are still relevant in the wedding reception world, and when people just want to dance and stuff.
Well, they're still huge. I mean, that's the thing. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I'm such a huge fan of him, you know, because I remember growing up in that, like 1989, 1990 and stuff. And like, I was so, like, oh my gosh, it was such a like huge impact in my life and stuff, and seeing that and being a part of it and everything. And it's like, and he's still, I think what I was seeing, like he still sells almost like 1 million records of To the Extreme every year. And it's like, who else can say that? You know, that's incredible. But yeah, I don't know, man. Another thing I want to bring up real quick too, before, because we're getting a little, you know, a little in the pocket here, but I just wanted to bring out just real quick. I just want to bring up, so Dan didn't know this, but back in the day, you and I collaborated on a song that never actually went anywhere. And Dan was like, "What the hell?" Like, I think we're
How
talking
did I
off
not
mic
know
this.
about that?
Yeah, he's like, "How the hell did I not know about
Between the
this?"
two of you, how did neither of you tell me?
Well, it was supposed to be a secret. It was what it was, and we were gonna drop this thing in like I don't
Secrets
know,
don't
man.
make friends.
Yeah,
You have an MP3 of it or a wave?
I don't. I think Fen, if anybody has it, it's gonna be Fen.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
that was a rad song, man. And I was just gonna tell you, because I don't think I remember, was I there when you recorded? I can't remember if I was there or not when you recorded. But either, or maybe you did it at your house or something like that and then sent it over to us.
I remember going down the long hallway in Finn's basement.
Yeah. So it had I had to have been there and stuff. But the thing is, what I was gonna say is that I really thought, first off, when we asked you to do it, I didn't think you were gonna say yes, because dude, you do so much, you know. I'm like, there's no way he's gonna do this little side project that we haven't even launched anything yet.
It's my favorite stuff.
Right, exactly. But then it was like, but then you're like, dude, yeah, guys, this is freaking rad, you know, like this is cool. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks, you know. And then you actually did it, and then you like took it real serious, and you did such a freaking amazing job on that. And it just bums me out that we didn't actually do anything with it, because it was a sweet song.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I wanted to thank you, though, is the big
Well,
point.
no, thank you
'cause
for
you did
having me
such
on
a-
it. I
yeah, it was
remember,
awesome.
I remember you doing some stuff with OGP, Weasel, and those guys, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of good recording sessions at Infinite.
Yeah. It was some good times back in the day, that's for sure. But yeah, we were basically we weren't trying to rip them off by any means, but we were trying to, not necessarily, we weren't really being influenced by ICP or anything like that, but you know, it was going to be something kind of like that and stuff, but almost with like a little bit of like a Slipknot vibe, where we didn't want to be known for, you know, like it wasn't going to be us, like we were going to be basically painted up and stuff like that, but just do all like black lights on the stage and everything, so nobody could actually recognize who we are. We wanted it to be more about just this trippy freaking metal hip hop freaking, you know, enigma. I don't know.
Yes, that's awesome. That's an awesome memory. Speaking of lights, you guys got these cool blue lights, and I make in my kitchen coffee maker and stuff. It's so bright, like
it's making me hungry.
Classic. I think we're gonna have flatbread pizzas tonight.
Nice, dude.
So there you go.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, dude, hey man, I want to give you an opportunity to spread your stuff. I know you got a couple shows coming up and stuff. I think you got one coming up January 3rd.
January 3rd at Reverb? Yes.
Yeah, Reverb.
Elijah's on that.
Yeah.
And,
my nephew.
Yeah. Elijah Canick, he's on that. And the whole lineup's cool. There's I'm opening for Mercules in March. He's a recent Death Row record. Snoop signed him. He's from Canada. Mercules. I'm doing that show, but that's not till March. My calendar's so crazy. I should have wrote these down. I should, but Surreal the MC on Facebook, SURREAL the MC. ZachSurreal@gmail.com if you want to send me any demos, because I do a lot of like reviewing and demo work and a little bit of A&R stuff. And if you want to just send me something to check out, or to DJ, if you send me files to DJ while I'm doing, because I do the weddings and the quinceañeras and the proms and, you know, dance clubs and rock shows. And so if you want to just send me something, or like, hey, just listen to this, feel free to email me. I did want to say, like, kind of my last message is I appreciate you guys having me on the show, and I love talking about like the history and the culture on the world and the regional, national, and the local level. I do, one of the most important things that where nu metal helped me, and I think it adds a lot of hope, is like recently Ice-T did another song with like Dave and Megadeth, and I think the relationships between different cultures and fans of different genres and different races is the most important thing that came out of this. The sounds, the imagery, the merch, I mean, the merch game for sure, all that's super important to like the business side and the entertainment side. But I think the relationships between different races of people and people from different cultures and different parts of the world is the main thing. I think it's beautiful the way the genres have melted together, because the metal peeps, the hardcore peeps, the punk rock peeps, they love different genres. The hip hop, the rap fans, they love, and sometimes it's kind of marketed like, nah, this is this is that, but that's not true. I mean, people love new sounds, old sounds, sampling of past genres into a new genre. And I think that the connectivity is the most important thing from like the nu metal genre. That's my take.
Dude, that's
well
powerful,
said.
man.
Well said.
That is well said, man. And it's so right on, because again, I totally remember in the younger, and again, I grew up in rural Nebraska and stuff like that. And not saying that people were racist or anything, but like I remember listening to hip hop and stuff like that, NWA, whatever. And like I almost kind of had to do it in secret, you know? It was like you didn't, like, me and a few friends, we would kind of, you know, listen to it and stuff, but you didn't really like tell your parents or anything like that, you know? It's just, but again, like we were talking about, like I remember especially like the family values tour and stuff, and all that was kicking off, and you know, Ice Cube and everybody was just all part of this big family and everything. And
Chili Peppers were in that Wicked video with Ice Cube.
Yes.
Hanging out.
Yeah. And it's been cool like that ever since. And that's it turned it into like a music world, not a this genre versus this genre, or this race versus this race. It was just everything came together, and it's so cool, man.
And I think a lot of people too were surprised when, like, because some of the real hardcore rappers, when like people started realizing they played instruments on the like Scarface from Ghetto Boys plays a lot of the bass and guitar on the old Ghetto Boys and Scarface solo records. And like Flavor Flav, you know, it's kind of well known that he plays like 9 instruments, and he's kind of goofy with the clock. But a lot of these guys know a lot about music, and when you're like, oh wow, that makes it even cooler.
Right. Well, that's the thing. You're exactly right. That's what's funny about like Flavor Flav or whatever. It's like you wouldn't think, and again, I don't say this to talk, you know, ill about him or anything like that, but again, he doesn't come across like the brightest guy in the world, but he is like musically genius level. I mean, he's really gifted, and there's a lot of people out there like that this gives them an avenue to actually show their talents and strengths, you know. So
I'm going to paraphrase, but there's a quote that I'm paraphrasing, but somebody asked him, they were interviewing Flavor, and they were like, why do you get up there and kind of clown around and act like a jester? He goes, I'm going to do it, but they got to pay me, boy.
Yeah.
Right on, dude.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. All right. Hey, perfect. Surreal, I feel like we could talk for freaking days on end, brother. I mean, it's been good catching up again. We'd love to have you back on the show if you're willing to come on.
Yeah.
Because I think we got days of material ahead of us, you know.
Definitely.
But hey, man, just want to thank you for coming on and stuff. And it's been a real pleasure. I mean, you're a legend, you know, and appreciate you, brother.
Pleasure's all mine. You guys have blessed holidays, and peace, prosperity to you guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Same to you, man. It's good to see you.
All right, brother. Till next time. Good journey.